Here's a truth that I've generally observed to be true, and that is that people are more committed to their tribe than they are to or to their tribe or their ideology, which are often kind of interchangeable. They're more committed to that than they are to principles. So, now, what's a recent example of this? So, a recent example of this is the firing of Candace Owens from the Daily Wire, a organization that purports to be extremely free speech, pro-free speech, has ranted a lot about cancel culture and all that stuff. Which actually that's a different example there, maybe. But yeah, when it comes to freedom of speech, apparently you can say lots of things in the Daily Wire. What you cannot say is you cannot criticize Israel. Apparently, now I don't know about Candace Owens. I expect she is difficult to work with. And I expect, as a personality, I expect she has a large ego. I don't listen to her necessarily. I expect that there are some characteristics she has that makes it very difficult to work with her. And I would imagine if you picked a fight with her, that it would go very poorly most times. So I don't know behind the scenes what all is involved in terms of Candace Owens and her behavior, and is she treating them fairly and all that stuff. I don't know any of that stuff really. But what's interesting to me, and not too surprising I suppose, is that I've noticed that people in the whole, they're more committed to their ideology than they are, or their tribe, than they are to the principle. So for instance, the principle of free speech. So this whole Israel conversation, it's interesting that, we can pretend to be very pro-free speech, but then now there is legislation, I guess, pending or in the works that potentially makes it a crime to say something anti-Israel. Now, I haven't researched all the legislation. I don't know what it's all about. I do know Israel is a special country. I believe it's a special country, and I think it's always probably going to be a country with a lot of controversy and that's going to spark a lot of conflict, I think. So I'm not saying it's amazing that there's conflict around it. All I'm saying is that people are committed to a principle until they aren't, right? Another example of this is so right-wing people used to rant a lot about cancel culture. And then they figured out, for instance, in the case of Bud Light and Dylan Mulvaney, they figured out, hey, they can do this whole canceling thing too. And they canceled Bud Light. And it felt good. And they liked it. And they didn't have a problem with it. On the whole, I don't know if they had a problem with it. I don't know if I heard any... I guess I don't consume a ton of like really hardcore sort of standard issue right-wing establishment kind of guy voices, but I don't remember hearing anyone be like, well, this is cancel culture, we shouldn't be doing this. And I don't personally have a strong, I don't personally have a strong, I personally have a strong feeling one way or the other on cancel culture. I think I lean libertarian, and so I think if you don't want to buy something, then don't buy it. Plus, I don't buy Bud Light anyway, so what do I care? I'd say, yeah, vote with your wallet, vote your values with your wallet. I think that's great. So I guess I support cancel culture, apparently, or at least cancellation. Now, do I support people being unfairly maligned for taking certain positions? No, I don't support that. And are there people who have expressed conservative viewpoints who have lost their positions in education and have had to suffer consequences and outrage and all that stuff, lots of hate mail, whatever. I'm not in support of anyone. How should we say? I'm not in support of individual people suffering for doing the right thing. Obviously, what the right thing is subject to my perspective, right? Not truth as a whole, but my perspective on it is going to be based on my perspective. Anyway, I'm sure probably you could also poke holes into my beliefs and preferences, and point out spots where principles that I claim to hold, that I make exception when it goes against my overall ideology or my tribe. It's very human. Like, it's not like, but in general, I guess the main point is just that in the general, the right and the left both do this. Like, they pretend to care about certain things until they don't. Like that's just the way it works in human. And the, how would, I think if we were to all agree on the principles, and then we're all to agree on the sort of general outlines of the expression of those principles, like let's say if it was maybe, of course in my view, maybe more libertarian, I think it would take a lot of fuel out of the fire of like what divides us between right, left, liberal, conservative. And I think that's bad for business. It's bad for, might be good for some businesses, but it's bad for political media, because you need an enemy and you need the opposite side to be that enemy, to have something to rage upon and to get clicks and views and all that jazz. So I think that, and also, we can blame the media, but as humans, we like to find a tribe and settle into it. Like, so while I think it's unfortunate, the division in our country, at the same time, like, just as humans, we like tribes, right? And it's almost like, and I don't know, it seems almost like maybe this is a little bit uniquely American, but I'm sure it's more human than it is American, probably. But it seems like this idea of having an enemy it's in our psyche of like, and we do all have an enemy, which is the devil, the evil one, Satan. And how much better it would be if we would have that as our common enemy than having another political party as our common enemy. But I do think that it's just human nature to have a tribe of your own and the people that you identify with, and you let that group kind of help shape your individual beliefs. And then from there, you also, your enemy is often defined by who your tribe says your enemy is. And, what you love and what you hate, a lot of it comes down to what your tribe loves and hates. And so what's interesting is someone like RFK Jr., who's a mixture. Like, he doesn't fit into the classic division of right and left. He's got a mixture of some like very classically or traditionally like very left-wing sorts of policy ideas, and then he's got some others that are more associated with right-wing nowadays, such as vaccine skepticism and things like that. And so anyway, so I think I probably find it a little frustrating when people are not principled, if you will. In other words, when the principle that they adhere to is, I believe whatever my tribe believes, rather than their ideas like freedom of speech and a person's rights and not harming other people, that we work off of those principles first and foremost, and then we figure out how they apply, and that's how I come up with my beliefs. So anyway, while it's almost certain that tribalism do affect my beliefs and that I'm not purely consistent, I think find it a little frustrating sometimes how inconsistent groups are with their stances, and that they can't be more principled. And so probably the group I'm most critical about that is the right, because I am right-leaning, and that's the group I associate with more closely. So I wish they were more consistent than they are. Whereas the left, I already have low expectations for them, and so for them to be inconsistent, I don't find that's necessarily surprising or whatever, particularly disturbing, even, if you will.